My sheep hear my voice, and the stranger they will not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers.
In the book of Proverbs, chapter 2, our grandfather, who obviously, our grandfather is King David. King David, that we has instructed King Solomon, and at the time he was raising a king. That was the whole point, and that's the point of these messages. And as he's raising this young man, one of the proverbs that he tells him is beginning in verse 10 of chapter 2. When wisdom entereth unto thine heart, and knowledge is pleasant unto thy soul, what? Verse 11. Discretion shall preserve you. Understanding shall guard you or protect you. Now, the King James says, or to keep you. Then we see a word in verse 12, to deliver you, to deliver thee. And I guess what is interesting is the fact that as a young king or young queen or child of the king, that our king, our father, who is a real king, would be talking to us about deliverance. To deliver you. And of course, we know that that word means to free you from something. I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? But doesn't that word also suggest that he is talking to us about how we will be able to be delivered from a situation or a circumstance, a person or people that seek to hold us in some weird captivity. That some kind of way we would be delivered or taken off of, say, like a wicked pathway and placed back on a righteous pathway. So then you have this word to deliver you. And then he says, from, and then right after that he says, the way of the evil man. To deliver you from the way or the paths of the evil man. And I have been putting off this, not putting it off, but I've been working on this message for a while. And I realize I'm going to break this down again into a couple of videos because it's just that important. So, again, what are we faced with? As we've been looking at every time we open the proverb, we always see the right path, which is the path of Torah, the path of righteousness, the path of Zedek, the path that Yah has designed for all of us, his children, to walk. And then we see the paths of the wicked, or the path of the unrighteous, and that is the path that leads to death, hell, and destruction. It is the path that leads us away from the Torah and away from the voice and the instructions of Yah, and of course leads you to eternal damnation. But that word deliverance was very powerful, and I just want to talk about that in this first video dealing with this particular parable. I want to just talk about the fact of deliverance, because that word, natsal, in Hebrew is a very powerful word, because it means really, it has to do with like stripping something away from someone and taking it by force. You got to pull away from it. Another root of the word nasal, to deliver, has carries with the idea of tearing you away from something. All right. So to deliver here is not just to give something to someone, like I'm delivering a package. It's not the picture. To deliver you from, and we're going to find out who, of course, the way of the evil man. But to deliver you means that wisdom, knowledge, understanding, discretion, have the power, which is all that's in Torah. It has the power to strip you away from a wrong path. Many people, and again, these messages are to encourage our future, encourage young people that are going through things to know there is a righteous path. And many people will get on a path and say, I cannot get off this path. I'm stuck. What do you mean? Some kind of way you got on a path and now you're stuck on that path, and you don't feel like there's anything or any power that can strip you away from it. That you don't believe that there is, some people won't believe that there is any power that can alter the course that they are currently on, that they found themselves on. Maybe you were already in a wicked or dysfunctional course when you realized you were a king, when you realized you were a queen. And you say, well, I mean, there is no deliverance, there is no power. And I want to show you this first part, I want to show you that there is power to deliver you. Yes, because in the Bible, he's literally saying, when wisdom enter into your heart, knowledge is present to your soul, discretion and understanding will keep you to deliver you from the way of the evil. All right. So in this very first look at this proverb, we need to see then what is evil. And then after we can see what is evil, we can then see how Yah will use his word through the power of the Ruach to deliver us from that which is evil. Okay. So, once again, we're going to be looking at the definition of words, and then we will look at those words in context. All right. So the first time we actually see evil, the very first time that we see evil, even just the very word evil is in the garden. So obviously we need to go there. Genesis chapter 2 and let's see. Yeah, and let's go to verse 9. Genesis chapter 2 verse 9. It says, and out of the ground made Yahuwah Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the eye, or pleasant to the sight, and good for food. The tree of life in the midst of the garden. The what? The tree of life is in the middle of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So the very first time we even see the word evil, we see the word evil connected to a particular tree that is in the garden. All right. So the reason I'm showing you this is that the first evil that we encounter is not evil from without. The first time we see evil, we see the presence of evil, because I'm going to talk about that in a second. We see it within. It's in the garden. It's not outside of the garden. Now, that then would make us say, all right, then if that's the case, then who made evil? And I'm going to share this with you. The word evil in its original state represents, and please hear me, I've said this so many times, it represents dysfunction. The word Ra is dysfunction. So when people look at what they call the devil, they say, oh, the devil is evil. But the question is, why would you say he's evil? Well, he's evil because, he kills people and all that. Well, the reason that you literally say that the devil is evil is because what he does and what he seeks to make other people do, or to convince other people to do, is dysfunctional. So when we read the Torah in the very first chapter, and I see my time is almost up already. When we see the Torah in the very first chapter, of the Bible, when we read about the creation story, one of the things, or one of the themes that we see over and over and over and over again is, it was good. And Yah saw it was good. It was good. Tov, 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 tov. And every time we hear the word tov, we mean that it was functioning exactly the way it was supposed to function. That everything was working perfectly, that everything was exactly right. And that is the way Yah designed his people and his house to be, which was Eden was exactly right. Adam was exactly right. I'll get into Eve in a moment. But Adam and Eve were exactly right. In other words, they were functional. Now, in the garden, you will say, well, there was a tree of life. Yes, it was also functional. And then you saw the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now, please hear me. The tree itself was also functional. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil was also functional. And what was the function? The function of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, it was there in order to compel Adam and Chua, but primarily Adam here, to compel him to continually seek Yah. Seek Yah, seek Yah, seek his ways, seek his ways. So that tree, every time he looked at it and he saw in it an opportunity to do something on the no. He said, that particular tree, I'm not supposed to do that with that tree. How do I know? Go to verse 15. And I'm gonna cut this one short. We'll pick it up right here when I open back up, if Yah allows. And Yahuwah Elohim took the man and put him into the garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And Yahuwah Elohim commanded, watch this. I want to emphasize something here. Verse 15. And Yahuwah took the man and put him into the garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. Verse 16. And Yahuwah Elohim commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. We're just going to pause right there. So what have we been given in this? We've been given the option, or we've been given the, you can use the word option, the choice, to choose Yah all the time, every day. No matter what else is in the garden, whether this tree is in the garden or not, he said, don't eat that tree right there. Why? Because if you eat of that tree of what is called function and dysfunction, you're going to die. So then the way of righteousness is what? The way of the tree of life. The way of death is what? The way of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And what he's telling us here is there is a condition that we now find ourselves in that we need to be delivered from. And what is that? It's from the way. We need to be delivered from this crazy, wicked, dysfunctional path that we have found ourselves on. And the only way we can do that is through wisdom, knowledge and understanding, discretion and understanding. It's the only way to help us get off of this track, because truthfully, we have already gone the way of the tree of the knowledge of what? Tov and Ra. So the question is, how can we be delivered? Especially if that choice is being presented to you and to me today, Zion. And the only way we can do it is that ABBA YAH has to continue to turn our heart back to his wisdom, knowledge, understanding, which is found in the Torah. That is our way of life. That is the righteous path. And even if we find ourselves caught in the path of Ra, the wicked path, we also know we have the power to what? Get out. We have the power to be stripped away. No matter how much it might hurt, you need to be stripped away from that wicked path. Woo! And discretion, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding will give you the power to do it. One love, Zion.